This is Football at 4.
If they're going to play that coverage, as a former defensive back, let me tell you something. You have to make them pay. And the Eagles didn't do that until the very end of the game. And so I was getting kind of frustrated with their inability to push the ball down the field.
That is Mike Mayock on the Believe in Eagles podcast. He said he was very frustrated with the Eagles' inability to push the ball downfield, not because they couldn't, just because the coverage that they were seeing from the Kansas City Chiefs. What is going on with the Eagles' offense? Is it a problem at all? I mean, they keep winning games, so does that mean it's not a problem? What is this Eagle offense with new coordinator Kevin Petula? Is it confusing? Do they need a better plan to get the ball to Brown? Or from Mike Mayock, as he says the Eagles need a better plan, and he thinks that Hurts needs to play more aggressive. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast. It is Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino in Atlantic City. Moshe, you know, a lot of people early in this season looking for things to complain about, and right now it's Kevin Petula and this offense. So what is the Eagle offense through 2 weeks?
Well, it's an offense that's not very explosive through 2 weeks. It's an offense that has been mostly a ground and pound type offense. They've got two big plays in the air, and both of them were important each time. But, yeah, I mean, I would agree with Mike's assessment that there is not as much of a downfield attack, and I think the teams are, you know, like the Chiefs played a lot of two deep on first and second down, and then, you know, as we talked about when it was third down, then they were just bringing the house, which it's hard. It's hard when the house is brought at you. I mean, yeah, you get those one-on-ones, but your timing gets thrown off. You got guys in your face, free rushers, things like that. Not every team plays defense like that. The Rams certainly don't. So maybe there'll be some opportunities for them to figure out the rest of their offense this Sunday.
You know, when yesterday Adam was talking about, you know, Jalen Hurts and the time he has pulling the trigger, are there plays that they are leaving on the field?
Yeah, a couple. I mean, it's not like every other play. They only pass the ball 20 times a game on average. And so if they, you know, complete 12 and then so we're talking about like 8 incompletions, right? Or if we're talking about a completion that went to one guy but could have gone to the other. I saw a couple of those situations. But in general, they just don't pass a whole lot, Mike. So it's not like Jalen Hurts is leaving plays left, right, center all over the field.
When you look at this team's offense, how is it different from the Steichen offense to the Johnson offense to what we saw last year with Kellen Moore? Is it the same, similar offense?
It's the same. To me, Mike, it is the same offense. I've even talked to other people about this. I know there's a whole lot of like, well, this looks more like Brian Johnson's offense than than Kellen Moore's offense. I'd remind everybody to go back and look at the numbers. Right, the Eagles' pass offense was like 26th last year. It was not flashy. And Mike, you know what? You're the best person to remind people of this because you always have a phrase that I agree with. You always say people remember what they saw last, not most often, right? And so people most remember right now what the offense looked like in the Super Bowl and to maybe a larger extent the NFC Championship game, but sort of forget that for 17 weeks before that, and then even the first two playoff games, the Eagles' passing offense looked a lot more like the first 2 weeks of this season than it did the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game. I would imagine that people are sort of getting tired of having the conversation of why this pass offense looks this way, but then other times it's explosive. Who knows?
Yeah,
that's just the case. But it's conceptually, to answer your question, conceptually what they do, the type of routes that they run, who runs those routes, those all look very, very similar to me as Kellen Moore's offense and even Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson, because it has to. The Eagles, like most teams, they design plays that fit the strengths of their personnel.
Well,
why do they run a whole? Go ahead.
No, well, what I was going to interject with is I think one of the things for me anyway, aesthetically, I don't care what you look like. Win the game, you're good enough. but the schedule this year is more challenging. That if your offense can't hold up its end of the bargain, is that going to be something that you end up talking about in week 14 and saying, man, this offense just – and then you're looking at the personnel of the offense. Like, it's one thing, you got all this personnel. You're not an explosive offense. Okay, fine. You keep winning. You're winning. You're winning. You're doing that against a schedule last year that's not nearly as challenging as this year's schedule.
It's a fair point. I guess I would just say, how many playoff teams did the Eagles beat last – like teams in the regular season – who made the playoffs that the Eagles beat, and how did they beat them? They beat the Rams, right? How did they beat the Rams? Was it a pass offense, or did Saquon Barkley rush for 200?
Well, in that game, right, Saquon Barkley crushed them. I mean, they beat and they scored 37 points. They beat them 37-20 last year.
Right. So, they beat the Steelers in a game that was very rare because they passed the ball really well. The Ravens, they ran the ball well. They had a few pass plays from Hurts, but, I mean, the schedule is tough, and I do agree with you that at some point, like, some of this stuff catches up to you because people study what you do, they figure out your strengths, they exploit your weaknesses. That's why you counteract, right? That's why the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley last year, because people had caught up to what they were doing in the passing game from the year before that was so explosive. Okay, so now the people are going to lock into Saquon Barkley, try to stop him. So far, he has no explosive. So, yeah, it will be on the passing game to look better, and that'll be on Kevin Patullo. I wasn't trying to absolve anybody of anything. I'm just saying the pass offense is what it is because it's always been that way from the concept standpoint.
And I agree with what you're saying, but, I guess you look at it, and it's just one of these simple, things. When we talk about, and like I say all the time, who cares about these lists? Who cares who's the number 2, 5-ranked quarterback? But these are the reasons why. Like, if you had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and they were in Cincinnati, those guys are going to have 1,500 yards, right? I mean, that's where this discord comes in sometimes of, look at the talent you have. Are you maximizing the talent that you have on your roster by doing what you're doing? Not that but that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you keep winning the games. I guess until that catches up to you and you end up not winning the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just basically articulated the complexity of it right there. It's like you got.
But do you agree that if I said A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were playing in Cincinnati or they were playing in Kansas City, those offenses would be unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, those are no offense, but I think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are about as good as A.J. Brown and I'm sorry. Yeah, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are as good as what the Eagles have.
Yeah.
And their pass offense is unstoppable, but they don't win as many games because the rest of the team isn't unstoppable. And that's why it's really more about what you are as a team than what you just are as a passing offense. But, yes, you still need to be a better passing offense. I definitely – I'm not sitting here trying to tell you they don't need to be better.
Okay. And then the next point of this is to say you need to be a better passing offense. We can all kind of agree that hasn't been good. But are they as good of a run offense right now? I know the big thing is Barkley hasn't busted the long one, but do you like what you've seen from the running game through the first couple of weeks? Does that look similar to the running game that we saw a year ago?
I don't think it's bad, but I definitely think that the backbone and the identity of it with Saquon Barkley, and we really only have last year as our sample size, is that he's going to get you 60% of his runs are going to be those 3 to 5 yard runs, and then he's going to pop 2 or 3 with his athleticism that are back-breaking 50-yard runs, and he just hasn't had that yet. But I don't dislike what I've seen. He's still averaging. He still has a decent average. I mean, he rushed for a touchdown last game. Jalen Hurts is still a part of the rushing offense when he runs on third down and things like that. So I think they're fine, and I think we'd all be foolish if we thought that the whole year is going to go this way where Barkley's not going to pop a long run and maybe more than one in a game.
Well, and obviously, he hasn't done that, but he has done it against the Rams. He had a monster game against them in the playoffs. He had a monster game against them I think they played in Week 12 last year. Talking with Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. And look, the reason why you look at the offense under such a, under scrutiny is because of the talent they have, right? And then it feeds off the fact where people look at Hurts. He's the most polarizing guy probably in the league when it comes to, he's the 12th best guy. Well, he's the 15th best guy. No, how do you say he's not the 5th best guy? Well, how come he's not top 3? Like, that is where this conversation is always so bonkers with him leading the way and people saying, well, you have him too low on this crazy list, but the way the Eagles run their offense almost feeds into them believing it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You start to get off the rails then with things like that. You know, my only issue ever is with the hypocrisy of the argument, because if the argument is that Jalen Hurts is like, you know, number 1, number 2, number 3, because he only just wins. Yeah. Well, then for the fans, Eagles fans who say that, then I guess they all agree Eli Manning is a first ballot Hall of Famer because he's won 2 championships and not too many. Right. And Joe Flacco must have been the best quarterback in the league for the first 7 years of his career. He was in the playoffs every year. He won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl MVP. He had a game-winning touchdown to Lee Evans in the AFC Championship game in New England, dropped, or else they would have been in the Super Bowl that year. I mean, he was great if you're just judging all he does is win. Joe Flacco's first 7 years are as good as anybody's. Yeah. But I don't know that I would get that people admitting that.
Yes. Well, and the same discourse of people being offended that Hurts is so low on the list are now complaining that the offense isn't doing enough.
And there's that too.
Right, so, exactly.
But that, every season sort of brings on its new topics and storylines. I just try to keep it to who are they playing? What's the opponent?
Well, I know yesterday we were talking about it, and, a guy like Dan Orlovsky points out, well, they're running the same pass play 10 times, the same pass pattern, and you're wondering, is there more meat on the bone, even as limited times as they pass in a game? You're only going to throw the ball 20 times. Okay, make the 20 count.
Yeah. So that's fair, right? I mean, if anything, if you want to do a comparison between Kellen Moore and Patullo and sort of throw Patullo under the bus, I mean, Kellen Moore, so they might be picking from the same menu, the same play calls, the same play designs, but Kellen had been a coordinator a couple of times, had a lot of experience with it. There is something to be said for a feel of the game and when to call the right plays, and I think it's obvious to expect that Kevin Patullo might not have that feel that Kellen Moore had last year for calling the right play at the right time, because it's just his first year in it.
Well,
but you know what? You got to give a guy a chance to grow. You can't every single year just go out and get yourself a 5-time play calling offensive coordinator. The fans have to realize. I've seen things on my own. You don't hire a guy like that. You don't do that. You don't do that. Why? I mean, you have to. You get. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You got to give a guy a chance to grow some.
Well, and I guess, the one area where I can see people having PTSD is, well, you were 10-1 with Brian Johnson. You were winning games, but it never looked good. And then eventually the whole thing came crashing down. I mean, I don't know that we have the parallels of that season to this season at this point right now. But through 2 weeks, very small sample size, Geoff Mosher, do we say that they have more issues on the offense than they do on the defense? And how is that even possible when you have 6 new players on defense and have the same offense back?
Yeah, I mean, they clearly they have more issues on the offense and defense right now through 2 weeks. I mean, I know Kansas City gave up a decent amount of points to the Chargers in week 1, but I mean, Kansas City's been a pretty good defense for the last 4 or 5 years, and you were in Kansas City, so I think that's got to be taken into account too. Plus, the game plan that Spags put in was really good. I was expecting something more like that than a Super Bowl, to be honest with you. So, I mean, there's that element to it. It's just 2 weeks. But, yeah, it is surprising. I think that you would have thought the offense would have hit the ground running a little bit better. That's fair.
Are you looking at this defense and really looking at, man, if they're at this stage through 2 weeks, where are they going to be in 12 weeks?
Well, yes. I mean, the whole turnover creation thing has been amazing, because I have a weird feeling we're going to have a stretch of the year. We're going to be like, man, this defense hasn't created takeaways like it was, and now it's really hurting the overall team. Because sometimes that stuff comes in bunches. But I will say the Eagles have been very consistent going back to last year, to the first 2 games. I mean, not just takeaways, but at huge, critical moments. Punching the ball away from Miles Sanders in the red zone, intercepting Patrick Mahomes to Kelsey in the end zone. I mean, those were you take those two plays away, they may lose those two games.
Oh, listen, the Kelsey drop and then Makuba being there to pick it off was, you might lose it. You're right. You might lose that game. We're talking about a different game possibly if Makuba's not Johnny on the spot. And he has been that guy. And you look at what he's added to this defense, Za'DariusSmith, what he's kind of added to this defense. I'm intrigued. He played 20 snaps last week. How much bigger or different of a role he has as this kind of matriculates? Do you think he ends up having a bigger role than, or is that what he is? He's the 20 snap guy?
No, I think he can have a bigger role, and some of that will be dependent on injuries. Some of it will be dependent on, how impactful Jalen Hunt is. He's still a young kid learning how to play the position. And Za'DariusSmith just hits the ground running in his first game, and oh my God, Vic Fangio is hysterical. I mean, he just totally takes the NFL and their acclimation ramp-up period in training camp to the woodshed.
Yes, he did.
Which is not really fair because, just because he didn't – what if he gets hurt this week? He didn't really give it a whole lot of time and emphasis. I get that he's old school, but, I think the acclimation – I don't think this one example just proves that the acclimation period is a complete farce, but that's just my opinion.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 here on a Sports Bash Wednesday. Eagles getting ready for the Rams. Eagles defense obviously creating some turnovers. They're creating some pressure. I don't know. Right now, this defense, it's going to be – I'm interested to see how much more this defense grows and what more they do with this defense because there's a lot of guys that are new still. He can't be feeling – like he can do everything that he wants to do yet. I got to imagine that he's having a blast right now thinking what more I could add with the group that I have.
Yeah, I'm really curious with this defense. In the first game, Vic played Quinyon Mitchell exclusively on George Pickens, and then this last game was fascinating. He actually played Quinyon Mitchell in one spot, but he played him as the field cornerback, not the boundary, which is the sideline corner. Usually, most teams I know, most coordinators know, like to put their best corner on the boundary. But Vic did it with the opposite way with Quinyon Mitchell, and I'm not sure what his rationale was for that. It was very interesting to me, and I'll be curious to see how he lines him up against the Rams.
Well, especially against the Rams because they got Adams and they've got Nakua, so two totally different style of receivers.
Yeah, but the only thing is that is similar to the Cowboys, and where Adams is an X like Pickens, and Nakua is a movement player like Lamb. So if he decides that he's going to put Quinyon Mitchell on Devontae Adams, then we might have another Adoree Jackson matchup against Nakua that probably is not going to favor Adoree Jackson. I think I'm being kind in saying that.
Yeah, well, listen, Adoree's, his name didn't come up nearly as much this past week, but, man, if they would have connected on that ball to Thornton down the seam there, and you see Adoree Jackson colliding with a guy, flopping on the ground like Weston Wilson playing left field, that wouldn't have been a good day for him on a Monday.
No, they will not.
Stay up for the game last night? You make it?
2 nights ago, yes. Last night I tried, but did not make it. But you know what? There's like a cool sort of pleasant surprise, right? When you wake up the next morning and you realize, holy cow, that's not what I thought was going to happen.
That was me Monday. Last night I made it to the end, due in large part because my buddy from L.A. was texting me back and forth the whole time, so it kind of kept me awake, and I was like, I guess I've made it this far. When I got to 6-6, I almost said, I'll find out what happens tomorrow, but I'm glad I stayed up to the end there. And watch the finish of that one. But it's made me cranky today, man. It's made me a little cranky. We're going to have to do more Mosher mailbags. We got a lot of people texting in questions for Jeff. So maybe Wednesdays we'll try to do some more Mosher mailbag stuff. People seem to like that in the summertime. Mosher on a Wednesday here. Because Monday we have a lot of reaction to the actual game. But Wednesday seems to be a good Mosher mailbag day for Football at 4. And, of course, it's brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook. I'll be there on Monday, every Monday at the Fanatics Sportsbook. And Monday with Geoff Mosher and Wednesday with Geoff Mosher. The Eagles getting ready to take on the Rams. And you can hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. It looks like Goddard's going to play, huh?
Well, I mean, he's back in practice today, so that's a good sign. That's usually a case that he will,
Yep, and that, I don't know. I don't know what that adds. Or obviously, it adds to the blocking element. I guess it doesn't add to the pass game all that much because Calcaterra is a pretty good receiving tight end.
Yeah, but no, it does add to. I mean, look at Goddard led them in receptions and receiving yards in the postseason. He's a big weapon for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm not, I'm just saying Calcaterra is a capable pass catcher. He just, where he struggles is the first play of the game, he gets dusted. He can't, he can't block. But we'll see. Yeah. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you.
See you, Mike.